Which is better for you, the LG K40 or the Moto G7 Power? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about that. Follow me on Instagram at KevinBreezeTV. Please join the Kevin Breeze Tech community on Facebook to chat about budget smartphones, ask questions, and help others. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison video between the LG K40 and the Moto G7 Power. Now, both of these devices have a variety of different variants available, both regionally and based on carrier, so I want to first let you know which specific version I have of these two devices. Now this is the factory unlocked US version of the LG K40. I bought this device at Best Buy for $179.99 and it works on all GSM carriers and Verizon Wireless. Now I'm pretty sure this will be offered on Amazon pretty soon, and when that happens I will be updating the link in the video description. And this version of the Moto G7 Power is the Moto G7 Power with Alexa. This device is an exclusive to Amazon and it's available factory unlocked. It works on all four major carriers, including AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint, and the device is currently being offered for $229.99. Now, of course, prices for both of these phones might change over time, especially as they get older, so certainly make sure to check out the links in the video description to see the most up-to-date and current pricing. So at the moment, the Moto G7 Power is $50 more than the LG K40, so keep that in mind throughout this video. Now, I'm certainly a fan of buying devices factory unlocked because it gives you the ability to easily jump from carrier to carrier. It's always nice having that flexibility where you can easily change carriers, and that's one of the positives with both these phones. Now, the Moto G7 Power does support Sprint, and you don't get that support with the LG K40. But it is cool to see that both phones at least support Verizon Wireless, because there aren't too many factory unlocked phones out there that do offer Verizon support. Now, the LG K40 features a 5.7-inch display coming in at 720p at an 18:9 aspect ratio. And the Moto G7 Power has a larger display at 6.2 inches, but it's also 720p, but it does offer a 19:9 aspect ratio. Now you can see side by side here that the display on the G7 Power is significantly taller and larger, but you are getting the same screen resolution, so technically the LG K40 is going to have a sharper display. But both phones definitely have good looking displays with nice and crisp colors, and it's actually often hard to distinguish these displays from a 1080p display just because the displays here are both really high quality. Now up at the top there are some major differences. On the LG K40 there is no notch, and on the Moto G7 Power we do have a notch. Now with the LG K40 there's a 5 megapixel front facing camera with a front facing flash, and on the Moto G7 Power we just have an 8 megapixel front facing camera with no front facing flash. The LG K40 offers 16 gigabytes of internal storage with the ability to expand that with a micro SD card, and the Moto G7 Power has 32 gigabytes of storage and also offers micro SD card expansion. So you do get twice the amount of internal storage with the Moto G7 Power. Neither of these two devices have wireless charging, but they both do have fingerprint sensors on the back side, and both fingerprint sensors work really well. I'm going to now do a demonstration of that. There you go, really quick on the LG K40. And on the Moto G7 Power, also super quick, if not maybe even a little bit faster on this device. On the back side of the LG K40, we have an 8 megapixel rear camera, and on the Moto G7 Power, we have a 12 megapixel rear facing camera. Now again, just to remind you, this is the unlocked version of the LG K40. I know that on the Metro PCS version of the LG K40, you're going to be getting a 13 megapixel rear facing camera, and for the international version of the phone, you get a different camera as well. So I don't want to see anybody down in the comments saying that I have the specifications wrong for this phone, because I don't. And I understand that there is confusion, and a lot of people, when they mention that I have the specs wrong for this device, have innocent intentions. And I really think LG deserves a bit of blame here for having a bunch of different variants of a device with the same name. If you're going to make phones with different specifications, different cameras, different amounts of RAM, then you should give them different names. You shouldn't have one name with a bunch of different variants fragmented around the world and on different carriers. It just makes everything super confusing. But anyway, with that rant aside, we get portrait mode with the front-facing camera on the LG K40 but not the rear, and on the Moto G7 Power we get portrait mode with the rear and not the front camera. So that's kind of an interesting little inverse there. With the LG K40, we get 2 gigabytes of RAM, and with the Moto G7 Power, we get 3 gigabytes of RAM, so more RAM on the Moto G7 Power. And the LG K40 features the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 processor, and the Moto G7 Power has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 632 processor. So a much better processor on the Moto G7 Power. The LG K40 has a 3000 mAh internal battery, and the Moto G7 Power has a 5000 mAh internal battery. So a really massive battery here in the Moto G7 Power, hence its name, and the battery capacity here really is significantly larger. The LG K40 features Android 8.1 Oreo, and the Moto G7 Power has Android 9 Pie. So Android 9 Pie is the latest version of Android versus the older Android 8.1 Oreo on the LG K40. It's definitely disappointing to see that the K40 has such an outdated and old version of Android on it, but you're not going to have any issues with running applications on either phone. And even though the software is older on the LG K40, pretty much every app is going to run fine with no issues at all. So those are the specifications of these two devices. Certainly some major differences here, such as the Moto G7 Power having more RAM and a significantly better processor. So when we get to the speed test later on in the video, I'm expecting the G7 Power to definitely outperform the LG K40. And that's really interesting, especially considering that the Moto G7 Power is only $50 more than the LG K40. Let's now compare the hardware of these two devices. So we already kind of went over the front here. So we have pretty large bezels on the LG K40. We do have that front-facing flash, which is cool to see. And we have the 5.7-inch display coming in at 720p. Definitely a more traditional design with the LG K40, especially considering that the device does have squared off corners and doesn't have a notch at the top. And with the Moto G7 Power, we have that 6.2-inch 720p display with a notch up top and definitely smaller bezels here. We do have the Motorola logo on the bottom, and both phones feature on-screen Android navigation buttons. On the left side of these two phones, on the LG K40, we have the volume rocker and we have a dedicated Google Assistant button. We also have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. On the Moto G7 Power, all we have on the left side is the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Taking a look at the right side here, on the LG K40, we just have the power button. And on the Moto G7 Power, we have the volume rocker and power button. On the top of these two phones, on the LG K40, we just have the noise canceling microphone. And on the Moto G7 Power, we have the noise canceling microphone and the 3.5mm headphone jack. On the bottom of these two phones, on the LG K40, we have the speaker, we have the micro USB port for charging and data transfer, we have the microphone, and we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And on the Moto G7 Power, we just have the microphone and USB-C port for charging and data transfer. So really nice to see that we do get USB-C with the Moto G7 Power. There really is no excuse for the LG K40 to have a micro USB port on the bottom in 2019, especially at the relatively high price tag of $179.99. At that price, you really should be getting a USB Type-C port and not micro USB. But if you have a bunch of micro USB cables lying around your house, then maybe you actually might prefer having a phone with micro USB so that you don't have to go out and buy some new cables. And then on the back side, we have the camera module with a single camera on both devices. We have the flash, we have the fingerprint sensor, and that's pretty much it. There are some differences though in material here. So on the LG K40, we have the platinum gray color, and on the Moto G7 Power, we have this indigo blue color. Both devices do feature plastic on the back side, but definitely a more polished and good-looking premium finish on the Moto G7 Power, whereas the LG K40 kind of has this standard matte plastic finish. Both do absorb fingerprints on the back, so that is unfortunate, but I think both look decent on the back side. I don't really think one necessarily looks bad and the other looks great. Maybe I do prefer the finish on the G7 Power a little bit better. But another thing that you'll want to keep in mind is that the G7 Power is a bit thicker than the LG K40, and it definitely has to be due to that 5000 mAh internal battery. So that is one of the compromises that goes along with having a bigger battery, is that you are going to be getting a thicker phone. Now that we've compared the specifications and hardware of these two devices, let's now do a speed test. Let's first pull up the camera. 1, 2, 3, go. About the same on both devices for the camera. Let's go to Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And the Moto G7 Power is definitely faster at starting up Google Chrome. You can get a good idea here with this side-by-side how much more screen real estate you do get with the Moto G7 Power. It's pretty significant. Let's now go to Yahoo. 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like Yahoo is about the same with loading time on these two phones. Let's go to Engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like it was a little bit faster on the G7 Power, but not too far behind on the LG K40. Let's try out scrolling with these two phones. Looks like scrolling is definitely smoother on the Moto G7 Power, but it's not slow by any means on the LG K40. So both phones are good for web browsing. Let's go to this article. 1, 2, 3, go. And it was a bit faster on the Moto G7 Power, but the LG K40 definitely didn't have a problem with keeping up. Now both phones have their screens at maximum brightness right now, and you can definitely see that the LG K40 is a lot brighter. So I think overall the display quality on the LG K40 is better compared to the Moto G7 Power. Now that I've compared the specifications and hardware and the speed test of these two phones, let's now go over my final thoughts about them. Now, I think hands down the Moto G7 Power is the better choice of the two. I can't think of too many ways that the LG K40 is a better device. The only thing I could think of is that the screen is a bit brighter here, and if you don't like notches, then this might be a better phone for you. But other than that, it seems like the Moto G7 Power is better in every department. Now I know that many of you watching might mention that of course this is going to be a better phone because it is $50 more, and that is true. However, you have to consider that you are getting a lot of extra benefits for $50. You're getting an extra gigabyte of RAM. You're getting a way better processor, the Qualcomm 632 versus the Qualcomm 450. You're getting better cameras in the front and rear, and you're getting a larger display. In addition to that, this unlocked version of the Moto G7 Power supports Sprint in addition to AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. But with the LG K40, you're not going to have support for Sprint. So if you're a Sprint user or a Boost Mobile user, then you're out of luck with the LG K40. Now there might be a special LG K40 coming to Sprint and Boost Mobile. I'm not sure about that, but this factory unlocked version of the phone does not support either of those two carriers at the moment. Now I don't know how the rollout of the international LG K40 is going to go, because that device certainly looks to be a lot better than this US unlocked version of the phone. But if it is available in the US market, whether that's on eBay or Amazon, then I definitely am tempted to give that a try. If I had to guess though, that phone will probably be limited to just GSM carriers, so it won't work for Verizon. So if you want the most carrier support with the factory unlocked LG K40, then this is pretty much your only option. Now, another thing I'm really disappointed about with the LG K40 is the amount of internal storage available. Now, like I mentioned before, this device has 16 gigabytes of internal storage, with only 8 gigabytes available to the user, compared to having twice the amount of internal storage with the Moto G7 Power. In 2019, 16 gigabytes is just way too low. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot with this phone before it fills up, and especially with how inexpensive storage is nowadays, there really is no excuse for the LG K40 to have such a small amount of storage. And then of course, you can't forget that the Moto G7 Power has Android 9 Pie, and the LG K40 has 8.1 Oreo, and I have not seen any indication that the LG K40 will be updated to Pie anytime soon, if ever. So if you want the latest and greatest version of Android, which is soon to be replaced actually by Android Q, then you're going to have to go with the Moto G7 Power. But I want to know what you think. Do you like the LG K40? Do you like the Moto G7 Power? Which phone do you currently have, and which phone are you thinking about getting in the future? Also, let me know what carrier you're on, because if you are on Metro by T-Mobile, then you will be able to choose at that carrier between an LG K40 and a Moto G7 Power, and you might be able to even get some great promo deals on either of the two phones and get a significant discount on them. So that is one of the bonuses to buying a carrier-locked device versus going the factory unlocked route. But this is Kevin here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to buy either of these two phones, take a look at the links in the video description, and I will see you in the next video.